When Sarah Hayes, an ordinary woman, is wrongly stopped by racist cops, things quickly escalate. Just as the situation spirals out of control, her husband, Colonel James Hayes, arrives in a military vehicle, revealing a shocking twist. What happens next is a battle for justice that the officers never saw coming. It was a quiet afternoon in downtown, the streets bustling with the usual hum of traffic. Sarah Hayes, in her late 30s, was driving her black SUV after a meeting, on her way to pick up her daughter from school. The familiar route made her feel at ease, until the sudden blare of a police siren shattered the calm. She glanced at the rearview mirror, saw the flashing lights, and pulled over, confusion settling in. A tall officer approached her vehicle and asked her to step out. Sarah, always composed, did so, but questioned the reason for the stop. The officer coldly replied, "You fit a description." No explanation, no reason, just an assumption. Sarah remained calm, asking again what was going on, but the officer didn't answer. He motioned for his partner, and the second officer, a younger man, walked over with an arrogant smirk. "She fits the description, Chief," he said, as the first officer grabbed Sarah's arm and yanked it behind her back, handcuffing her. "Hey, I haven't done anything wrong!" Sarah exclaimed, struggling. The officer merely responded, "You can file a complaint later. We're doing our job." With no further explanation, they shoved her toward the back of the police car, her mind racing with confusion and fear. Just then, the sound of another engine revved through the tension. A military-grade vehicle appeared, sirens blaring. It slid to a stop, and a tall man in military fatigues stepped out. His presence immediately commanded attention. He approached the officers, his gaze sharp and unwavering. "Sergeant Williams, what's going on here?" he asked, his tone laced with authority. Sergeant Williams, the officer who had detained Sarah, stammered. "Sir, this woman, she fit the description of someone we've been looking for." The military man looked at Sarah, then back at the officers, his eyes narrowing. "Let her go! Now!" The officers hesitated, but after a moment the handcuffs were removed, and Sarah rubbed her sore wrists. "What's going on?" she asked. The military man turned to Sarah and said softly, "I'm sorry, sweetheart, for getting here late." Then he faced the two officers, his expression hardening. "She's my wife, and I have no doubt. She was unfairly targeted." The realization hit her hard. Her husband, Colonel Hayes, was a high-ranking military officer, and she had no idea of the extent of his influence. The officers, clearly unaware of who she was, had made a terrible mistake. Sergeant Williams faltered, his earlier bravado gone. "You're the colonel's wife?" Colonel Hayes' eyes burned with fury as he stepped toward the officers. "You don't know who you just detained, do you? You've made a grave mistake." The officers exchanged nervous glances. "Sir, we didn't know. We just thought—" the younger officer began, his voice trembling. "Enough!" Colonel Hayes cut him off. "You don't just pull over my wife. She's an innocent civilian, and you treated her like a criminal." He turned to Sarah, his expression softening. "I'm so sorry you had to go through this." The officers, now on edge, stood silently as Colonel Hayes turned back to them. "I'm reporting both of you. You'll be lucky if you're still wearing those uniforms by the end of the day." Without another word, Colonel Hayes led Sarah to his military vehicle, where she hesitated for a moment before following him inside. She still couldn't fully grasp what had just happened. The ride was silent, with Sarah feeling a mix of relief and lingering confusion. Finally, she broke the silence. "What now?" Colonel Hayes, his anger now under control, glanced at her. "Now we make sure they learn the hard way. You don't mess with my family, especially when they're innocent." The next day, the local news reported that 2 police officers had been suspended pending an internal investigation. Their actions had been deemed unjust, and their careers were likely ruined. Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of justice, though it had come at a cost. As Sarah sat at home later that evening, reflecting on the events, she realized how quickly the balance of power could shift. It wasn't just about uniforms or authority. It was about knowing who you were and having the strength to stand up for what was right. For Sarah, it wasn't about fighting for justice. Sometimes, justice found you.